Good evening. This is Journal Club number 3 for Holy Cross High School, the Science Academy, combined effort between Holy Cross and Morris Catholic. Today, we are going to have a paper that is very near and dear to my heart. The discussion's being led by Tyler Hawryluk. Did I get it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And that paper is Stimulation of Hair Regrowth in an Animal Model of Androgenic Alopecia using 2-deoxy-D-ribose, which we're just going to refer to as deoxyribose. Okay. So the sugar. Um, so just as a preface for this before Tyler starts, I asked Tyler to do this paper. Okay. He did not choose this paper himself. So it is not his fault about what's about to happen. Okay. And I told you guys that we're going to do papers that are really fun because they're very cool. We're going to do papers that are really boring because they're not that interesting or maybe they're not done well. And then we're occasionally going to have papers where, maybe they're not very well done, but in a funny way. Okay. Hint, hint. Okay. So take it away, Tyler.
All right, I'll share my slideshow. If you don't know, what androgenic alopecia is male pattern baldness. This is the table with the groups for the myces in the study.
Could I possibly make a small comment about the table really quickly? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I know we just started. I don't know how much we're gonna talk in this paper. This is just a small pet peeve of mine. I don't like the SR number being 1 through 6, but then the groups being T1 through 5. I don't even like the T1, T2, T3, T4, T5 thing personally, because I feel like it just made it confusing because I had to keep mix and matching it when I was looking at the figures. That's just my personal opinion. Um, yeah, sorry, that was it. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way.
Just a quick note on like why balding happens, right? Did you want to cover that, Tyler, or you want me to do that?
You can do that.
Okay. So we've known for a long time that there seems to be a link between the mother's side and what your mom's father had for balding and being bald. We also noticed that it tended to be more severe in people who also had phenotypes that were more masculine, let's say, more testosterone. Okay. So this kind of intense biochemistry here is showing the synthetic pathway of how testosterone's made and then what it's turned into when you're done with it. Okay. So the more testosterone you make, the more you need to metabolize it, right? That means you're going to be making more of whatever the waste product is from using up the testosterone. That particular thing is something called dihydroxytestosterone, DHT. DHT is itself a hormonal signal that actually goes and turns off hair follicles, specifically in the crown. Okay, that's why you end up getting, or that's why I end up getting this like around the edge is perfectly fine. That's actually where they do transplants from,
Yeah.
because those hair follicles seem not to have the same receptors for
Yeah.
DHT, whereas these do. Okay, so the more, and I say masculine because there is a direct relationship between how much testosterone you have and how many of the masculine phenotypes you present. So one of the obvious ones is being muscular. Okay, the more testosterone you have, or the more testosterone you take, if you're on vitamin S, as I call it, the more jacked you get, super muscular, which is a masculine phenotype. But as a result, you also have to metabolize the testosterone, and therefore the DHT that builds up goes and shuts down hair follicles. In the paper, it ran off a bunch of stats, which were pretty remarkable. I didn't think it was this high, but in Asian men, 30% of Asian men will be affected by age 30 and 50% by 50. White men are going to be affected 80% of the time, and white women will be affected 40% of the time. It's not going to be as noticeable in women, but it does affect them, especially post-menopause, because then all of a sudden they're not making all of the estrogen that they were before, and instead the testosterone they've made throughout their life starts to come out. Um, those are the that's a weird thing to me that they cite Asians and white people. There aren't any other groups that might be interesting, right? And that's strange. And that's like the first of many strange anomalies in this paper, okay? Because then I also have to get to what Lila was talking about. But if you look at this chart, the what do the arrows represent?
I would say pathways.
Yeah, but no, I'm really asking my honors bio kids. Honors bio kids. We say this a lot.
Don't arrows represent enzymes or something?
Correct. That is correct, Cadence. Good. So an arrow means there's some sort of enzyme that's actually creating that, some sort of doing the chemical reaction. And so that's what's happening. You can see there's a bunch of different forms of DHT, and you actually need testosterone to make some of the feminizing hormones. I try to be very careful about that. Testosterone is not a male hormone, it is a masculinizing hormone. And I know this because if I go and I inject Cadence with a large bolus of testosterone, she gets jacked, her voice deepens, she starts to grow facial hair, and she then gets to play sports, NCAA sports, on the, you know, whatever team she chooses. And so, wait, what sport are you? Cheerleading? That'd be kind of funny. We should try that. Let's get you some
Our
testosterone.
mic is muted.
My mic is muted?
No.
No,
hers
mine
is.
Oh,
is.
hers is. Oh.
Yeah, I do cheer and track.
All right, so I wish I could capture my mouse, but it's here, I'll annotate. So I was talking about, notice here's testosterone. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Wait,
Can
see
you-
what?
I
It's like
just
a
drew.
circle.
Oh, now I
Yeah,
see it.
oh, there it is. Okay. And then notice the arrow leads to estradiol. And then, but it also leads to dihydroxy, this one, dihydroxytestosterone. And that thing gets changed into a bunch of other things. If you were alive in the 90s, which none of you were, there was a big scandal in Major League Baseball because a bunch of baseball players were actually taking this drug, I can't even pronounce it, androstenedione, or just andro, and it is an immediate precursor to testosterone. So a lot of people were saying it was cheating, and it turns out that I think they eventually banned it, but Mark McGuire, Jose Canseco, Barry Bonds, the people who were accused of taking it, were actually, they were saying they're taking it. They were actually taking testosterone. So, let me-
Just realized this is not full screen.
that's right. Yeah, there we go. And so that's the setup for this. And now go ahead to the next one, Tyler. I was rude and was talking when Lila was trying to talk because I was trying to make a point. But Lila, say what you said before about this.
I just didn't like how the like SR numbers, I don't know if that's serial, I don't know what that means, but it's 1 through 6. Then the group numbers are like 1 through, oh, I guess NC through 5. And then I just felt like it was weird that they even implemented that because it's not like the names are that long, and I just felt like I was playing mix and match with all the figures because I was trying to remember what T5 was and stuff like that. It just did feel necessary. You could just make the font smaller. Like, that was my opinion though. So
Right. And so Tyler's gone and copied and pasted it in like oh
I think I did it
Tyler,
for all of them.
yeah, you want it to be kind of like just off to not blocking anything, but kind of off to the side because I can't either. I couldn't follow it either. What does SR stand for?
I'd see serial number.
I mean, a serial number is a serial. It's a string of numbers. This is one number.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're wrong, but that is strange. Like, why did they do it that way? Um, somebody want to go over what these groups were that they did? Or attempt to? Anybody? Tyler, you call on people.
Okay. Um, Maggie.
Except Maggie. No, yeah, that's fine.
Um,
No, I'm kidding. That's fine.
Um, okay. Well, I don't really know what like you're asking for though, because like I see that like right next to the number of like the groups, you have like the normal control, the model group, and all of those. So
Yeah, but what does it mean?
that's a good question.
What's a normal control?
I can help out Maggie in case she's like locking in and she's just like hesitating a little bit. Did you have something in mind?
Sure, Lila, but I don't know if I could answer that question. What is a normal control?
Yeah, Lila.
Enlighten me.
I don't know if there's a certain scientific term that's proper for that. I think it just meant like they did nothing. Like
I took it as the
they just
control group.
well, but I feel like yeah, they did literally nothing, and then they had I think the model group is a negative control because I think it's negative control because that they used the testosterone with no treatment. So I don't know which one is like the proper control, but there's two of those, and then I think there's also another control ish, which was the positive group
Well,
where they
T1 model group, it uses the androgenic, it uses the testosterone injection.
but that's
I
not the
think.
experimental group. It's just like they just added that to, I guess, to make sure that like to show what happens when
Seems
you
like
normally have the testosterone injected.
yeah.
And then same thing with the positive group. They used a regularly known, like they use regularly known like hair loss treatment that like people already know about before.
Minoxidil.
Yeah, that thing. I don't know what it was. I looked it up and they were like that. So yeah, I don't know if there's another word for normal control, but that just means like
No,
nothing. Like I don't know.
yeah. Kayla, is your sister still there? Because we actually minoxidil came up in the presentation today at Behringer Ingelheim. Okay. Yeah, it was a strange set of controls. Okay, hit the raise hand function if you actually read the paper. You guys missed out.
How do you raise your hand?
There's a little button you can hit down if you just roll your mouse over the screen. It's a raise. It's actually on the bottom or it's under React. So did you guys read the methods? The most boring part of the paper is usually the method section, but for this paper, the method section was pretty interesting because it was so not kind of screwed up. It was pretty screwed up. Do y'all read that? Hopefully. Okay. I'm doing some shopping right now as we speak. Getting ready for the big plan here. Let's see. Because I just got back myself. Oh, sodium alginate. Right. Okay. Give me 1 sec. Sodium alginate. There we go. Okay. So I guess in some places they're going to refer to things as the serial number, and some places they refer to it as the group name, right? So yeah, like in figure 2B, it's group name, and in 2D, but not in C. That's weird. Anyway, okay, let's not dwell on it because we wanna finish in a timely fashion. Go to the next one, Tyler. Okay, I'm gonna
You're
do this
on.
one. I'm gonna do this one because I couldn't believe that they actually published this. All right. So when you've read like 1,000 papers, okay, and you guys who might become scientists, that's not a brag or anything. It's not something that one wants to brag about because it's a lot. That's when you're reading, it's not always a good thing. Dylan, did you want to ask something? No? Okay. Um, but when you're reading a lot of papers, you start to pick up on uh, little tricks of the trade or the way people do things or the way they get around having to do something they don't want to, or when you have an oddity, you try to explain why. This one's a weird one. So figure one included something called a Fourier transform infrared spectrum. Infrared spectra are used to test whether whether you can identify a chemical or not. Okay. They are used in colleges. Like any college you go to, if you take chemistry, if you take orgo, yeah, I think orgo, you will do this experiment at some point. You got two little pieces of solid salt that are polished. They look like glass, okay? But they're actually made of salt. And you put a droplet of whatever chemical it is you're trying to test, and then you sandwich it between these two salt chucks, they're called. And then you put it into the machine, it shines an infrared light, and then it gives you this pattern. Now, there are a couple funny things about this. One, they printed it upside down. It actually always goes the other way. So the spike should be pointing down, not up. That's a weird thing, but okay. And then each of the back in the old days, back in my day, we had a book that was like this big, okay? And we would flip through this book trying to find our chemical or find something that would match the pattern that we see there. And so what this is showing is the spectra of the blank SA, which is T2, versus the deoxyribose SA hydrogel. What does SA stand for? Sodium alginate, right? It's that just like the agar we used in lab to make the cells. Remember we made the blocks of cells and you guys cut them all up? Are you all with me or are you all dying? This is, hey, part of the fun is I don't want to be petty, okay? I don't like when people are petty, but occasionally you have a paper that is like really good and you should be just singing its praises, and then other times you have a paper that's like really sloppy. This is the latter. And again, I asked Tyler to do this. I'm doing this first figure. I won't do the other ones, but this one, what was the point of A? It was to it was to show that it is the chemical that they say it is. Remember how you guys are writing your manuscript right now about your lab, and some of you have asked me, how do I know how specific I should write the method section? And I'm like, it comes from practice. Well, this is a level of specificity that we never do because when somebody sends me a sample and says it's a thing, I usually just trust it's the thing. Okay. And in this case, the thing is the deoxyribose. Okay. So there's that. And then they went and made these gels that they dehydrated in a what's it called? A freeze dryer? Yeah, freeze dryer. And then they put them in tubes to see if over time the deoxyribose would come out of the gel. Does anybody know, other than Maggie, does anybody know why they did that? How many of you took a pill today? Okay. How do you know that the pill didn't just stay all together throughout your digestive system and then you pooped it out? How do you know? You don't, right?
You know,
Yeah, I mean, unless you see the pill come out. You might see the pill come out when you go poo poo. Okay. But
yeah,
one of the tests that we have to run when making a new pill is, does it dissolve? And if it dissolves, does it then get absorbed? And that's kind of what they're doing here, is just like, does it? I was going to tell Tyler just skip this one because this whole figure's kind of silly, and trivial. But the reason I didn't was, if you read the paper, okay, and you go to page 4 and you look at, I don't know if you can see this, my notes here. Okay. What does that say? So bad. Okay. It says so bad. I don't know if it'll focus, but okay. If you read it, it says the results of the FTIR spectra of the hydrogels shown in figure 3A. Tyler, can you show me figure 3A, please? Does that show a spectra of FTIR? No, it does
Nope.
not. Are you kidding me? You would fail my class if you started talking about a figure that wasn't the actual figure. Like, are you kidding me? This was just that. That's the first of many mistakes, but they, are you kidding me? That is so sloppy. And then it continues. The spectra are presented in figure 4. Go to figure 4, Tyler. Um, no, they're not. What are you talking about? This is so that I wanted to keep it in figure 1 to show you that when I'm talking in class about writing cleanly, concisely, and carefully, it is to avoid stupid mistakes like that. And somehow this got published. Okay? So, not to be, too mean about it, but all right, because that is not the biggest problem in this paper. Cadence?
So like in the figure legend, the p-value isn't like, are they saying what the p-value is, or like is the p-value different depending on like what you're doing?
Where? Which figure?
In all the figure legends, there's a
Oh,
p-value.
well, all right, yeah. Hold that thought. That's a good thought. Hold that thought. Let's go to figure 2, unless Lila has something. Go ahead, Lila.
Sorry, it's really quickly. Could you just reiterate, like, really quickly, what you thought figure A was trying to say? Because you said you thought it was trying to say that it is what it says it is. What did you mean by
Yeah.
that?
So, uh, Tyler, I'm going to stop your sharing for a moment, and I'm going to go over to my side, and I'm going to share this thing. Share. So, I've been doing some shopping. Okay. I'm really excited about this paper, and I made Tyler do it because I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm bald, and I'm sick of it. So, uh, what would it take for me to create the thing they use in the paper? Uh, this. You can see my screen, right? So this is sodium alginate. I could get it from Amazon for $10. Uh, I can get out of the way. I can get propylene glycol. Okay, that's a commonly used thing. That's perfect. All these things are perfectly safe, right? I wouldn't recommend drinking these things, but if you did, you'd probably survive it. You wouldn't have too bad a problem. But there's the propylene glycol. The next thing is the pheno-oxyethanol. This was used as a preservative. I can get that in Amazon. And the kicker is I can already get deoxyribose from Amazon if I want to. And it's 98% pure, but I don't need it to be super purer than that because I'm just going to rub it on my head. Okay. So fine. But when you see something like this, okay, I'm going to unshare. Tyler, go back and share figure 1 again.
Yeah.
I started to say, and I never finished this thought. When you see something kind of trivial like this, you start to wonder who the author is. Okay. If I go back and I look at the author list, it is Muhammad Awais Anjum is the first author, and the corresponding authors are Muhammad Yar and Sheila McNeil. Now, if you look to see where this study was done, it was done in
Pakistan.
Pakistan. Yeah. In Islamabad. This was done in Islamabad, in Pakistan. They don't have a ton of resources to ship in Amazon or Carolina, Fisher, Sigma Aldrich, Thermo Scientific. The ones that we like, if I need to buy cocaine or something, I go to my friend on the street. No, if I buy cocaine for my experiments, which I will not do at Holy Cross, obviously, but in the past, right, I would go to Sigma Aldrich, give them my DEA number. They would ship it under, a special type of shipment so it was secure. Nobody would know what the package contained, blah, blah, blah. I can get that in America, but in Islamabad, it's a little more difficult, right? So I think that they were running this experiment, Lila, because they weren't sure that the stuff they bought was actually the stuff they wanted. So they needed to test it. Do you see?
Yeah, yeah, no, I just thought for A in particular, I thought it was just trying to show that like the structure didn't change when they added the stuff that helped it like the gel, because the two lines are flank SA and then like those two groups, one of them had the gel in it, one of them didn't. So I thought they were just trying to say, hey, the gel didn't change anything. That's what I thought it was. But
Maybe,
yeah,
no, that's possible. Because it's kind of first, it's upside down, and it's a little silly that they would put that in. I cannot tell you for the life of me what the inset figure is in B. That, guys, again, you want your figures to actually be readable, legible, and it looks like there's some sort of equation in it, but I cannot read. It's too small. I can't read it. That's terrible. Don't do that. You need to make everything legible. Maggie.
I just want to say, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like it also doesn't hurt to like have the like for A, I feel like it doesn't hurt to like show that like it actually is what it is.
Okay, Maggie. Yeah, all right. So Maggie's gonna be, and this is a good quality to have, that she don't trust other people. Make sure you what is I think Ronald Reagan used to say, trust but verify, or maybe it was Rumsfeld said that. So yeah, I trust you, but I'm going to check your work and make sure you did it right. And you should all do that with your group members, right? You do not want to just trust that Joe Schmo put their stuff in correctly and didn't plagiarize. You need to check it, or you're going to fail. Okay. So anyway, I want to get done with this one because this one I thought was really pretty silly. And of course, they made the error in the paper, but it is nothing. It is not even close to the biggest mistake. So move on to number 2. Who wants to do this one? Do we have somebody planned to do this one, or because this one's probably the
I think that was the one that I suggested you give to somebody else. The rest of them I was like, I can probably handle, but then that one I was like, there's pictures, so it's like,
yeah, this one's easy. You guys could probably struggle through it, but this is where if you read the methods section, it's pretty interesting. Anybody? All right. This one's so easy. I didn't care that we didn't set up somebody ahead of time because it's so easy. All you guys need to do is read it. Okay? Read A. Oh my God, they purchased them? Wait, what? Oh, I didn't see that. Oh my God. Okay. Timeline, right? They purchased the mice. How old were they?
I could be wrong.
-7 days old.
No. Where are you getting that from, Tyler? Please tell me you're right. Oh my God, I
oh,
will
he's
pee my
looking at the
pants.
timeline which says -7 on it for adaptation in cages. I think that's what he's looking at.
I think,
Also
yeah.
days.
How can you be -7 days old? Like, guys, explain, because that's another silly way to show this. This is not, Tyler's reading it correctly, but what do they mean by that? Do they mean days old? You guys can talk. You don't need to like raise your hands. Just talk. Kara.
Does that mean it was like in its like mom still? Like if it's
Usually,
-7 days?
yes,
Because it's not
usually.
born.
Well,
But if you look at the figure, it's a picture of a mouse that they
Yeah, but like
purchased.
then
Yeah,
how can you
you
purchase
purchase it before it's born.
It's the
No.
number of days prior to the injection.
That's what I was
Exactly.
gonna.
Exactly. It's the experimental days, but do they label
Uh,
it? No,
No.
no, they don't. So all of us have to figure it out. That's a bad figure, people. Don't do that. That's why I'm excited about this paper because they've made so many stupid mistakes that you get to now learn from. Okay. Don't this is not supposed to be a puzzle for your reader to figure out, which is what we're doing. We're like, ooh, could it be this? Could it be this? It's supposed to just be clear. This is what's happening. Michael is so frustrated with it. Yes. All right, Maggie.
I just wanted to clarify, it does say that the mice were 7-week-old males.
Yeah, that is sexist. Why males?
I mean, you were just talking about like testosterone and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. But wouldn't it be nice to try a control in females and see if it worked for that? But they did only do males and they did 7 weeks old. Now, I worked with mice for years. Mice are born on day 0. After gestation, 20 days it takes. For you guys, humans, it's 40 weeks. But for mice, it's 21 days ish. So they are 7 weeks from when they were born, which means that they were weaned at week 3, 21 days, and they're only essentially a month away from mom. They are still babies. They are still juveniles. They're C57 black 6 mice. So they have black hair. And here's a fun fact about them. They all go deaf at 6 months because that specific strain, that's just one of their features. They also don't make melatonin. They're really screwed up mice, but this is what they chose. Cadence.
So how did they know that this might be stupid, but how did they know that the mice were gonna go bald? Or did they shave them? Because I feel like it's different if like you
Yeah,
just shaved a mice.
so they were following a protocol that someone else did, and Maggie sent me a message right before we started that I couldn't answer because I wasn't sure either. And it was kind of that question, like what are they doing exactly? So if you follow A, right, they purchased that's crazy to me. They purchased the mice. And left them in their cages for a week before they started the experiment. That's not enough time for an animal to get used to their surroundings, which is why you usually breed your own animals. I would have four females and one male in a cage, and they would get to know each other, and babies would then ensue. And I would then have the moms separated out so that they could raise their babies until they were weaned. Then they would still be in the same facility, used to it. And then at 7 weeks, if that's what you want to test them. But 7 weeks in a mouse is the equivalent of you guys. Like it's the equivalent of a 12 or 14-year-old. So, how many of you gentlemen are going bald? Not Joe Roman, but how many of you guys are going bald? Oh, Michael, I'm sorry. Oh, I know what that's like. Um, but it's a little weird. Why didn't they wait longer? Tyler, do you have any insight on that? Like, why didn't they wait until they were adults?
Um,
You
does
say
it
you
have
don't
to
know.
do with
I don't know.
hair
I
regrowing?
was just wondering. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just thought maybe if you knew, that would be helpful, but. Anyway, if you go through A, IP injection means intraperitoneal, which means you inject right here in the belly, under the peritoneum. Okay. Then they decide which group they're going to be in. That's the model. and then they get a topical treatment of whatever group they're in based on the table. Okay. So, and they're also receiving testosterone. I guess the thought is that the testosterone will then have to be metabolized and will make DHT so that when they remove the hair, because I think they removed it, they would then have more trouble regrowing the hair because of the testosterone. Maggie.
Sorry, I was reading the like figure legend for B, and I
Yeah.
got a little bit confused because what does it mean by like the regeneration of like the mice's hair without any treatment?
That would be a control.
Okay.
They're referring to it as normal control. I think that's what they mean, but
Yeah,
since they don't
NC
refer to
normal
it,
control.
yeah, but they're not referring to it. Oh, NC normal. Oh, they are. Okay. Yeah, I think that's what it means. So you always need a control group to run with the experiment to make sure that if you do nothing, then you'll see nothing, right? Because otherwise, that's called the placebo effect. If you come to me, let's say, 10 of you come to me with headaches. I give 5 of you some Tylenol, and I give 5 of you a Jolly Rancher. Okay. Um, but I don't, but they all look the same, they taste the same, whatever. You guys who have the Tylenol, one would think would have less of a headache afterwards. And the ones that are the negative control, they're calling normal control. I don't know why they're calling it that. Um, they're Jolly Rancher type, shouldn't have a reduction, but the mind is so powerful that you will. So people will actually convince themselves that they got a drug and will feel better. It's the placebo effect. Yeah. So that's what you're controlling for. But the other crazy thing was the way they went, if you look at the methods, how they went and did this experiment. So I'm looking at page 3. Up at the top right, it says in brief animals. Do you guys see that? And then it says they were intraperitoneally injecting testosterone at whatever the dose is 3 times per week for 2 weeks. And on the figure A, it says injection of testosterone on every alternate day. Every alternate day is not the same as 3 times per week for 2 weeks. It's not, right?
Every
And
other week would have 4 injections.
yeah, right, exactly. And that's so sloppy. I'm sorry. So anyway, after 2 weeks, hair on the treated back skin was depilated. I thought it's depilated, but it's depilated, which means they kind of tweezed it out. Or they actually used a hair removal cream, Nair. It's the Nair stuff that some of you guys know of, right? Under anesthesia. Why did they use anesthesia for Nair? Do you guys who use this on your legs? Why? Do you actually put yourself under anesthesia first before you go and do it? Why do they do it to the
I think it
mice?
burns.
Oh, has anybody done this? Oh, good. Okay, don't. It's stupid. But if you do it, yeah, Tyler, if you leave it on too long, it burns. But I think they went and put them under anesthesia because they didn't want them to wriggle around too much.
Yeah.
But but notice they put them under Maggie, here it comes. They put them under anesthesia for the hair cream. But if you continue reading, they did this on the dorsal side of the mice, and then animals were sacrificed by cervical dislocation before the tissue samples were taken. They broke their necks. Now, I no judgment because I've killed probably 10,000 mice, and I'd say a quarter of them were by cervical dislocation. It is a fast way to go. But the reason you do cervical dislocation is so that the drugs don't interfere with your experiment, except they had already given them drugs earlier. Right? How come you guys look so like bored? How could you be bored with this? This is a colossal piece of garbage, okay? I almost swore. This is funny, okay? This is like you got to be able to go, geez, okay, I got to not write like these people. I got to not do my science like these people. And also, you should all feel bad for me because I was excited about this. Okay, I got my shopping cart ready. I was ready to start this therapy. So anyway, they've arranged. I guess I'll do this figure. B, you've got the what are they calling this? Normal control on the left. Let me draw. All right, so you've got the normal control right here, right? And it's showing you week by week. So they take digital camera with a DSLR, they said, digital camera photos of these in sets of 3 about what hair regrowth they were showing. Okay. Then by each individual thing. So here's the T1. That one gets testosterone, but no treatment. T2 gets just the, what is it called? Just the gel, no deoxyribose. T3 is the one that matters the most. That's the actual test group. And then T4 is minoxidil, something we know already works. And T5 is both sugar and minoxidil. And their claim here in the paper was that this group right here had more hair than any other group. Am I I, I'm sorry.
Wait, so the
To
theory
me,
that wasn't theirs worked better?
say again, the what?
The thing that they were testing to prove works, the other thing worked better.
I think the controls worked really well. They're saying that there's no difference between the T3 and the T5. Look at how thick their fur is. You know? Wait, how come this group has 4 mice and this group has over here has 3 mice?
If you
As a
check
general
the
rule. Go ahead, sorry.
table, the groups 1, normal control and model group have 3 mice.
Yeah, but why? Why would they do that? Did they forget? Like, why would you do that? And as a general rule, guys, you really want about a minimum 5 mice anytime you do a group like this. Okay? So they also looked at skin color. Why? Couldn't tell you. D is just sort of the skin color analysis over. Who cares? I don't get that. Go to figure 3. This one's going to be Maddie, right?
I thought that was mine.
Oh, wait.
What?
If
Oh, sorry.
not, if not,
Also,
that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I'd
also Alina's
prefer
raising her
Maddie.
hand.
Alina, what do you want, Alina?
Didn't the rats like not make any or not testosterone, melatonin? I mean melanin.
No, you said it correctly first. They don't make any melatonin. They do make melanin, which is why they have a black fur.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, go ahead,
Maddie, were
Maddie.
you planning to do this one?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So the A one is just showing the length of the fur. So the non-control group had the longest hair and the T1 group had the shortest hair. But then if we look at like figure 3, even it looks the thickest, I guess, on in T1. It looks the thickest on that, but you could actually see it's the thinnest hair out of all of them. And yeah, basically
In
that's just
C.
the thickness. In figure C,
Yeah,
it
it's the
look
thinnest.
it's the thinnest, but on
Yeah.
A, it looks
Oh,
the
that's true.
thickest. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's true. Wow, okay. That's true, man. I didn't even notice that. Well, that's why you guys are scientists. You don't use ends of one. That's why you have multiples. And they did, but they only did, what did they do? 60 each, something like that. How did they know that there were differences though?
The p-value is
Yeah.
lower than 0.05. It's the p-value is less than or equal to 0.0001, I think.
Yeah.
0.0001, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Just as long as it's less than 0.05, right?
Yeah. But in both graphs, T3 and T4 are not significant, but I'm talking about B and D. In B, T1 and T2 are significant, right? There's a difference.
Yeah. Which is
And
weird.
yeah. But then like the normal control group just doesn't have anything, I guess. Or I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Like nothing there.
Yeah, me neither. I do not know what that means.
What?
What?
Like there's nothing there.
They don't do a comparison. Okay. All right. I think it's time. Did anybody notice, other than Maggie, because I talked about it with her afterwards, did anybody notice what the biggest flaw with the paper is? The thing that sort of like made my head explode.
Is this the thing you were talking about in the chat or no?
Oh, it is. I did tell you guys.
Okay, so
I
I
told
will
them I
not
was
say it.
Catholic. Yeah. Did anyone notice the biggest flaw in the paper? I'm going to show you because this is amazing. Share. All right, here's the paper, right? You can see this? Yeah. Bigger. So I'm looking at the materials. Here's the recipe, by the way, for my new hair gel that I'm going to be making. But notice they have subsections like you guys are supposed to use for your paper, right? So for materials, they have how did they make the hydrogel? How did they do the Fourier transform? How did they analyze? That's stupid. I don't know why they did that. How do they take care of the mice? And then at the end of the section, they said statistical analysis. All experiments were conducted in triplicate. Fine, though I really think it needs to be a minimum of 5 mice, okay? Just for statistical power. Were conducted in triplicate or more, and their results were calculated as mean plus or minus the standard deviation, Maddie. Statistical analysis, unpaired student t-test was performed via GraphPad quick calcs. So here's another hint about like what's going on is GraphPad is something that high schools use. It's not something that is usually used in a science lab. It's a quick, easy way, free thing to use, and then it says all results are a p-value is. What's the problem with this? Anybody know? Who isn't somebody I told? Freshman? You all know the answer to this, so I want to hear one of you say it. What did they do wrong? Tyler, I'm gonna stop sharing. Can you reshare your slide number 9, please?
Which one is that?
It's after figure 3. It's after this. Click next. There. Oh, remember this thing, guys? Remember this? What's the problem?
The test they said they used isn't on there. Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Did
It
they
is.
use the
Yeah.
wrong graph?
No. No. The test they ran, let me draw on it. The test they ran was this. It's also called a student's t-test. Go ahead.
There's more than 6 graphs. And they didn't
See-
do the one that has like more than 6 graphs.
The
Like, or the
groups, you
one
mean?
that has more than 2 groups.
Correct. Oh my God, I lost my mind. You can't do that. They ran a t-test, which is for 2 groups, to analyze 6 groups. That comparison, right, that I did in class, I was like, me versus Maggie, me versus Kira, me versus Juliana, me versus Elena. And then you go, okay, now Maggie versus Kira, now Maggie versus, right, that whole thing. You have to use the right test for that, or it's not real. And that's why I stress statistics so much is biologists are so bad at using stats. Here is a paper that was published for realsies in real life, and that's what they did. That is totally wrong. You can't do that. Why aren't you all like losing your minds over this? This is an affront to mathematics kind everywhere.
Why does it matter?
Because why does it matter? Because the results are not real.
So why
Because
you're gonna
April
try it
Fools.
anyways? Isn't that what they wanted? If you're
this,
saying
okay,
you're gonna go do this and try it, wasn't that the whole point of the
if
paper?
if you're a scientist, what is your job? To fool people on stuff that's not real or to discover actual reality?
Second one.
Yeah. First of all. Second of all, this paper, when it was published, was worldwide news. Every news organization carried some story about this thing, and it was done wrong. Now, that's not to say it's not real. It's just that they certainly didn't show it was real. Okay? This is totally wrong. And I don't want you guys. This thing will, when the AI gets to this, the AI will say this was done incorrectly and needs to be withdrawn. And they will lose that publication. And these people will never be allowed to get grants or publish again because they did it wrong. Don't do that. Okay? Do you see how serious that is? Yeah, you should all be like totally offended. All right, go to figure 3. We're done. 4.
I have a
What was this?
question.
Sure.
Um, why didn't like the publisher say anything? Like the people that look over the paper?
That's a great. Who was that who just said that? Maddie? I.
Yeah,
That's a
that's me.
that's a great question. And in the interest of time, I know that we're running a little late. Tyler, humor me and go to your last slide.
So,
Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Why is that thing still up? Clear it.
let me get that out of here.
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Should work. Or at least it should have. There it is. Yeah. Let's see what you said. It may be possible to reverse or mitigate. Go ahead and present this. Did you want to say anything about this? Like, let's say that we reached the end. Tyler, what were you going to say?
Well, first, if you didn't notice that the tests were completely wrong, you might report that it's possible to maybe reverse or mitigate isn't the right word, but
No, I think it is. I think that's right.
Ah.
Yeah.
so reverse or mitigate hair loss using what was it, deoxyribose,
Yeah.
and it can stimulate hair growth.
Maddie's question was, how come the editors didn't catch this? Does the paper belong in Frontiers? You said no. Why?
Well, because of the tests being wrong.
Yeah, I don't think it should. I don't think this paper should have been published by anybody at all. I would have rejected it immediately.
Yeah.
by anybody, not just. However, this journal's impact factor is 4.4, which is pretty low. Okay. In I'm going to be a snob here. In my world, Frontiers has a really bad reputation. You generally don't want to publish in Frontiers because they're super sloppy. The editors don't catch, like, that may not, a bunch of those mistakes may not have been the authors. They may have been editorial mistakes because Frontiers is just not a very good journal. And so, like, you kind of run the risk. Usually if somebody's trying to just get something out, like, we need to get this out as fast as possible. We don't care if there's mistakes in it because we just need the credit, right? And that did happen, right? They got it out. The whole world was talking about how, oh my God, there's this going to be new treatment for hair loss. And nobody has taken the time except us now to actually look and say, yeah, they did the statistics wrong. And if the stats are wrong, then that you can't trust the result. You can't trust the conclusions that they drew from it. Lexi, Kayla's sister, says to me, why don't you go and reanalyze it? And I was like, I don't have time for that. And then I sat at my desk. I'm like, shoot, yeah, I should probably just try that because you're now required to upload all of your data so that other people can analyze it. So check this out. I'm gonna end your screen share real quick. Stop participating. Let's go back over here, and I'm going to show you on their site. Share here. Here's their website. Here's their website. And if you look at the table of contents, you can see data availability. All right, so I'm going to go here and I'll be able to download their data. And their data availability says the original contributions presented in this study are included in the article and supplementary material. Cool. So if I go and I look for supplementary, oh, there is none. They forgot to put it up. So I can't actually go analyze the data. Are you all getting my point here? All right.
Do we
Yeah.
have to have those in our paper?
No, don't worry about that. No, you guys aren't writing an actual published paper. You're just writing manuscripts. So, and everybody in here has done that. You know, all the older kids have done that. I see AJ's here. Hello, AJ. And he did this back in the day. And this paper would fail honors biology, and it actually got published. That's insane to me. But see, I'm still sharing, so check this out. But you can go and, oh, not that. But you can go and buy it on Amazon now. There it is. Samson's hair regrowth serum. And here's a bunch of other hair regrowth serums with the formula from the paper. So they're already making money off of it, even though their data is wrong. And that's actually, if you go back over here, there is an ethics statement, right? And there's also a conflict of interest statement that they need to make. So, conflict of interest. The authors declared that the research was conducted in the absence of any commercial or financial relationships that could be construed as potential like, if I know I'm going to make money off of it, I might change the data, right? But no, I'm claiming I don't have any. Really? Do you see? I don't think you were as entertained as I was by this paper.
But isn't it possible people just stole their like thing?
Yes,
They thought it worked.
totally.
So it couldn't be their fault.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's their fault or not. They still did. That is scientific misconduct. You're not allowed to do that. Which is why if I did this, if I went and did something, I analyzed it completely wrong, and then made sure that I had a press release that went out so the entire world fell for this thing I did. it's not quite as bad as vaccines cause autism, but it's in the same vein. And the worst part is it gave me false hope. Me, that was the problem. How dare they? You know,
You really
I'm still gonna try it anyway, but huh?
said you really wanted that mullet, huh?
I need it. Maggie goes,
Get a mohawk.
what color mullet are you gonna have? I'm like, that's the question you're gonna ask? What color? Is it worth? I mean, it's because I want to stop because we're over, but anyone who needs to leave, you can leave. But is it worth going over the other figures? Like
Why not just get a hair transplant? Like, why do you have to grow it
um
back yourself?
because who is that, Cadence?
Yeah.
Because the hair gel is $50 for something that'll last months, and a hair transplant is a plane ticket to Turkey and a $5,000 surgery, $10,000 surgery. Like, there's a bit of a price difference. And one the surgery is ugly. If you look at the actual videos of people getting the surgery, they can't even go in public for like a month. It's so bad. And so only rich people do it because they can hide away for a month because they're rich. Dominic?
In my opinion, I don't think we should go over the figures because we already know that it's like the data is wrong and everything else is wrong. So
No,
that's just my opinion though.
yeah,
But
I don't I think I got to be a little more charitable the way Cadence was, right? She's like, do we know it's false? No, that's the problem, right? We just can't trust their analysis. It could be that, yeah, actually there is a difference. You just can't say it with this analysis. Um,
Mhm.
was there anything, I mean, Tyler or any of the older ones who read this, was there anything interesting about figures 5 and 6 that would make it worthwhile to go over? What was the reason they said the deoxyribose caused hair growth? If you read the paper, you would have picked up on it.
Wasn't it because of the sugars or no?
Well, yeah, the sugar is doing something. What is it doing? If I put this hair gel on, will my daughter find my scalp tasty? Like, that's something I need to worry about. She's a baby, you know, babies
Why
do
would
weird
you
things.
worry about that?
You worry about a lot of things when you're a parent.
Um,
So, anybody remember what the reason was? Blood vessels, guys, blood vessels. It grew more blood vessels. The more blood vessels in an area, the easier it is to heal. How did this start? Do you remember what they said was the original experiment they ran before they discovered this? It wasn't about hair, it was about something else. I'm asking super simple questions to see if you guys actually read it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
This team of scientists actually published a decent paper before this, and made an observation while they were doing the other study that this deoxyribose, when it was applied for this other study, the hair tended to regrow faster and more and thicker. And they were like, we should do a study on hair regrowth. What was the original thing they were trying to treat?
No pattern baldness.
No, no, that's what they're trying to treat now. What were they what were they treating before?
I mean, I could be wrong, but they were talking about alopecia in the beginning.
That alopecia is balding.
Oh, okay.
It was
Yeah.
wounds. So they were making a cut on the mouse. and then they were seeing how long it took for the wound to heal, and they found that the deoxyribose healed the wound really fast, but also had a lot of hair around it. And they're like, oh, that's weird. Let's go. And that's how most science is done, is like you go, oh, it's not always eureka, I discovered it. It's whoa, that's weird. And then you go and, test it. Lila?
When you talk about the other experiment, did you mean the thing where it was in like the abstract or whatever, where it's talking about the chick bio essay or whatever? Like, is that what you were referring to? So I guess because it said recently, so I got confused. I'm sorry, that
Right?
didn't make any sense. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean. The
It was
what
talking about in
assay?
vitro. It was it's at the very beginning. It's talking about in vitro models, neovascularization. That might be something that was in the paper, and I just like
Yeah,
it's
I did not know what a chick bioassay. That was
yeah.
like out of. If you look at the paper, and you guys are doing this right now for your manuscript, if you look at the paper, it has all those numbers next to the names, right? All the numbers next to the names. And you could say, all right, well, what does one mean? Like, who is Muhammad Awais Anjum? And it just says that that person is in the Interdisciplinary Research Center in Biomedical Materials at ComStats University in Islamabad, Lahore. I think that person's an undergraduate, maybe a few years older than you. I think this was just a thing that Muhammad did, and they decided to try to publish it for him so that he could go to medical school. Just didn't really put a lot of effort into it. Maggie?
Sorry, what you said was like a really good point as well, but I wanted to add, like, could it maybe be that because like it was like a university where like basically it wasn't in the US? Could it be that like they do stuff differently there and that's why a couple of the like figures were different, or no?
No. So there's a reason that this isn't in Punjab. This is written um, this is written and published in English, because this is going to sound funny. English is the lingua franca of science. Lingua franca means the French language. English is the French language, because until very recently, French was the international language of diplomacy. All treaties were written in French. Now almost everything's written in English. And so they still need to meet what should be rigorous standards to publish. And that's why Frontiers is not a very good journal. They don't have rigorous standards. I made Tyler do this paper. So do not blame Tyler for this being a disaster.
The one I wanted to do was on anti-aging
Yeah.
nicotinamide.
Yeah, and I like the subject. We should do that subject, but that particular paper was too much. It was really, really dense. Somebody had a hand up. Maddie, do you have a hand up? No? Okay. You guys can go. I'm gonna stick around and chat with people, but I think that was you guys look terribly bored.
It was a great April Fool's joke.
It is kind of an April Fool's joke of a paper. It is. Like, I'm gonna have to really question whether I should even put this up on the website, because if these authors ever saw the video of me trashing their paper, that's not very nice. And I hope I don't think they're bad people or anything like that. It's just that this would not meet the standards of other journals because it's just done so wrong in so many different ways. Is that fair?
What if they knew
And
that what they did helped heal the wounds faster, which was their original, like what they
they
wanted
they
to do? Why didn't they just stick with that?
they did publish that in a different paper, but in the field we have a saying: publish or perish. The more publications you have, the easier it is to get grants so that you can do more science, so that you publish more papers, so that you can keep your job and get tenure and be a professor forever.
Well,
You know,
you said that now they can't get grants or anything because they published something wrong, so it wasn't really.
if they were found to have committed misconduct, I don't think they did. I think it was a mistake. I don't think they committed misconduct. But your question you had asked earlier was the premise was misconduct. That's why I was talking about it. And I don't think they did any misconduct. I just don't think that they analyzed it correctly. And the thing is that if I were to get the data set and reanalyze it, I still wouldn't be convinced because they only used 3 animals. That's a little weird. You know, we usually do bigger studies than that. Why did they choose that breed? Why did they buy the animals and not breed them themselves? Why did they refer to the wrong figures? Why did, you're getting my point? Like did we have this much criticism for any of the other papers we did? No. And if we go and do another Frontiers paper, I bet you will find a lot of stuff like it again. They're just not very careful. You guys will be more careful for your honors papers. Okay? All right. Well, those of you who want to stick around and chat, I'm going to stay on for a bit, but hopefully that was interesting. Thank you, Tyler, for organizing it. All right.
Yeah.
See you guys later, the rest of you.